Well, hello, Nativity Bible heads. It is Dr. Wayne, and it is time for Sunday morning Power Bible Study. This is for proper 11. I don't know which Sunday after Pentecost it is. Somewhere around 8th or something like that. Anyway, Sunday the 23rd of July, we have another story about Jacob from Genesis chapter 28, Psalm 139. Not all of it, just the portions of it that don't turn us sideways. Romans chapter 8, verses 12 to 25, and we get another parable from Jesus. All right, in Matthew 13, starting with Genesis 28, verses 10 to 19a. So we get, I love these stories about these Old Testament people because they don't really ever show us like, oh, this is a good example story of how you should be, right? This is the Jacob's stories are never they're never that complimentary. Okay, we had the story just last week of how he finagled his brother to sell him his birthright, right? The week before, I think, was when Rebecca was giving birth to Esau and Jacob, and Jacob actually was like trying to become the firstborn person by grasping at the heel of Esau, but failed to do so and was the secondborn. Here today, we see Jacob in a story where he has received the blessing of Isaac. Remember, after he finagled Esau to sell him the birthright, then the dastardly story of pretending and to be Esau and taking advantage of the elderly, can't see Isaac, and his mother actually helped him in this ruse, and he actually did get that blessing. Now, what's happened is Esau's mad, and Jacob is running away. Jacob is scared for his life because of what he has done to his brother and what he's stolen from his brother. So he's on the lam. He is on the lam. This is not a story of a man who's out seeking after God. And no, he's scared. He is scared. He is running away. He is going, he's on his way back to the land of his mother, and where he will eventually meet up with another trickster, a big trickster in the Bible named Laban. But that's later. But today's story in Genesis chapter 28, verses 10 to 19a, does this sound familiar? Jacob left Beersheba and went toward Haran. He came to a certain place and stayed there for the night because the sun had set. Taking one of the stones of the place, he put it under his head and lay down in that place. And he dreamed that there was a ladder set up on the earth, the top of it reaching to heaven, and the angels of God were ascending and descending on it. A little bit of a, I don't know if he smoked some funny stuff, or maybe he ate something weird to give him this weird kind of a dream. We're not told that, but I don't know. If you're going to use a rock for a pillow, I guess you get what you get, right? And the Lord stood beside him and said, I am the Lord, the God of Abraham, your father, and the God of Isaac. The land on which you lie, I will give to you and to your offspring. And your offspring shall be like the dust of the earth, and you shall spread abroad to the west, and to the east, and to the north, and to the south. And all the families of the earth shall be blessed in you and in your offspring. Okay, I'm going to interrupt God here for a second. So I want us to notice something here. In this is a theophany, okay? A theophany as a, anytime God comes to and shows somebody, manifests somebody to somebody, that's like, especially unbidden, okay? This is an unbidden theophany. It's not like Jacob was out there doing some soul searching, like, oh, if only God would give me a sign. No, he wasn't doing that at all. Remember, he was on the lamb, and God comes to him. And so the kind of the way we see it here is even though Jacob is running away from Esau, we see God actually seeking out Jacob. Yeah, and then in introducing God's self to Jacob, we hear a very similar promise that God made to Abraham. So notice how the identification, I am the Lord, the God of, okay. I just can't overemphasize this enough, that Jacob wasn't looking for God. Jacob didn't give a rat's patootie about finding God. God came to him, right? And remember, he had done some bad things. Well, Jacob then receives the same exact promise that Abraham had. This is all about how God is faithful to what God says God will do, and we have no right whatsoever to claim any special privileges or rights or whatever because, oh, God loves us more because, no, God does what God does because God honors God's word. Yeah, exactly. And God is honoring God's word by coming to Jacob. Notice how it continues. So yeah, the language of the promise is very similar to what we saw with Abraham, right? Verse 15. Know that, good, look at this. So there was a promise, and now there's it's almost like a warning. Know that I am with you and will keep you wherever you go and will bring you back to this land. Jacob wasn't wanting this. Jacob wasn't out there like, this isn't so much, oh, it's an answer to prayer. No, it's not an answer to prayer. What it is God saying, you're quite the little shyster, Jacob. I'm going to really have to reel you in. And this is what God's promising to do. For I will not leave you until I have done what I have promised you. Because if God does leave him, who knows what Jacob might do because of the fact that he is just one shyster of a guy, okay? Verse 16, then Jacob woke from his sleep and said, surely the Lord is in this place, and I did not know it. Whatever. It's like a holy place. It's like, sure, oh, the idea is, wow, didn't know I stumbled on a holy place. What made it holy was the fact that that's where God found you, okay? And he was afraid and said, how awesome is this place? This is none other than the house of God, and this is the gate of heaven. Just a little spoiler alert, the word house is Beth, Beit, God, El, okay? Keep that in mind, Beth, El, right? And this is the gate of heaven. It's like, he's like saying, oh, and this is you know how and what are those places where you have the vortex, the energy vortices of the earth? It's like, he's like saying, ooh, there's like a strong divine vibe here in this spot. And this is the gate of heaven. That's kind of the same thing. So Jacob rose early in the morning, and he took the stone that he had put under his head and set it up for a pillar and poured oil on the top of it. This is a little bit of a precursor to or foreshadowing of the kind of practices that would happen in temples and such, right? He called that place Bethel. Bethel, house of God. Okay. We've heard stories before that seek to explain the name of a place, okay? This isn't the first time, though, that we've had Bethel mentioned, okay? Abraham had stopped at Bethel, okay? So this isn't like he just discovered it, or like this isn't the first Bethel of the Bible, okay? These stories of the ancestors typically have their provenance in that northern area, now what we call the West Bank, in that portion of Israel. Sometimes it's a little farther north, but they have a northern, twang to them, and that's what this is like, more evidence that you got to remember. If this were later on, like in those stories that we get in Samuel and Kings and such, it's like there's only one place where God is. God is only in Jerusalem. Yeah, but no, those stories don't happen now, and they didn't edit these out. It's like okay, God is truly wherever God wants to be, and you don't have to have just one place where you can worship God, even though it came eventually degenerated to that in the time of the monarchy. Okay, now that's it for our story today. Now, we don't get Jacob's response. I'm just going to mention something, though, that as Jacob responds to this theophany, he starts to say things that basically put it's like he's committed to it with a lot of conditions. And it's like, yeah, well, okay, I'm going to read it, okay? I wasn't planning on it, but here's the next couple of 2 or 3 verses, right? But the name of the city was... Then Jacob made a vow, saying, if God will be with me, notice it's not the covenant name for God, if God will be with me and will keep me in this way that I go, and will give me bread to eat and clothing to wear, so that I come again to my father's house in peace, then the Lord shall be my God. Yeah, he's not even like, oh, this is so cool. I should just accept what God is. No, he puts conditions on it. Oh, well, we'll see. Here are my conditions, God. If I see this happen, then I'll know that this is right. But otherwise, not so much. Yeah. And this stone, which I have set for a pillar, shall be God's house. And of all that you give me, I will surely give 1/10 to you. This is where that old tithing thing starts as well. So I just thought that might be interesting that we see that this wasn't a conversion experience for Jacob. This was it was a theophany, but yeah, he's still a little bit like, I'm not so sure about this. We'll see. If you really are going to be with me, then I'm going to have food, I'm going to have clothes, and yeah, so let's just see, okay? I love this story because it shows how we are. It's not an example of how we should be, but it definitely illustrates how God is, and that God's got to deal with us. God's got to deal with us. Can you believe that? Oh my goodness. Anyway, praise be to God, right? All right, moving on. Psalm 139. Psalm 139. Remember, the Psalms that are chosen typically reflect an attitude that we found in the first lesson. Lord, you have searched me out and known me. You know my sitting down and my rising up. You discern my thoughts from afar. You trace my journeys and my resting places and are acquainted with all my ways. Indeed, there is not a word on my lips, but you, O Lord, know it altogether. You press upon me behind and before and lay your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me. It is so high that I cannot attain to it. Where can I go then from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I climb up to heaven, you are there. If I make my grave my bed, you are there also. If I take the wings of the morning and dwell in the uttermost parts of the sea, even there your hand will lead me, and your right hand hold me fast. If I say, surely the darkness will cover me and the light around me turn to night, darkness is not dark to you. The night is as bright as the day. Darkness and light to you are both alike. Search me out, O God, and know my heart. Try me and know my restless thoughts. Look well whether there be any wickedness in me, and lead me in the way that is everlasting. This is kind of like, you got to really use your imagination to think that this could actually be a thought of Jacob. It is not. I don't think it is. I'm not saying that it's supposed to be that way, but if we think of like Jacob in an idealized form, we could see this as like, okay, yeah, I could see how this could be an expression. This would be like the kind of expression we would want to have from a character, that had the kind of experience that Jacob did. But we know differently about how Jacob is. So it's kind of like an idealized way of responding to a theophany. Not that we saw Jacob do that, but that's sometimes we get an idealized picture of how we should be. Oh, and that's what the Psalms give us. Yeah, okay. All right. Romans chapter 8, verses 12 to 25. We've been trekking through this Romans stuff. Paul is, he's been dealing with the flesh and the spirit, that kind of thing. Let's see what he's got in store for us today. Romans 8, 12 to 25. We read 1 through 11 last week, and now 12 to 25. I think that's to the end of the chapter. No, it's not to the end of the chapter. Okay, so then, brothers and sisters, we are debtors not to the flesh, to live according to the flesh. Remember, that's part of what he's been talking about. And when he says flesh, he's not saying, oh, it's bad to have a body. It's not bad to be a corporeal being. He's just making a discernment between the life that is offered to us in the wake of the resurrection versus that which we already always have. Okay? If you live according to the flesh, you will die. But if by the Spirit you put to death the deeds of the body, you will live. For all who are led by the Spirit of God are children of God. For you did not receive a spirit of slavery to fall back into fear, but you have received a spirit of adoption. Adoption, we think of it as something where, when they talk about adoption back then, that's a powerful act, especially when you consider that the status of children back then was not all that. They weren't that well respected. They didn't have protection laws and stuff like that. So to be adopted is to say that there's somebody really has a good heart, an open heart, and that's why to say a spirit of adoption is to say something very powerful about who God is. Yeah. When we cry, Abba, Father, I love that expression. That's an Aramaic word. Abba is the Aramaic word for father, kind of like daddy, that kind of a thing. Pops, I don't know what kind of terms of endearment for, this is the kind of closeness we have with God, okay? A lot different than, what the word Lord conveys, right? When we cry, Abba, Father, it is not that very Spirit. It is that very Spirit bearing witness with our spirit that we are children of God. It's almost as though that he's like saying that intimacy with God doesn't even exist until we recognize that adoption. Our our status as believers is special in that, and we have a relationship with God that is not typical in the world. It's not found in the world, and it's definitely not found in deity amongst the deities, right? Okay. It is that very Spirit bearing witness with our spirit that we are children of God. And if children, then heirs. Heirs of God and joint heirs with Christ. In fact, we suffer with him so that we may also be glorified with him. Remember, a lot of Paul's arguments in Romans go in the realm of he's trying to talk to the Gentiles and to the Jewish believers, and the Gentiles have to talk as being in that realm of adoption, because in that Israel Jewish vein of theology, those are, God's chosen, right? And so he's saying that in Christ, it's like all of that gets leveled, okay, with regard to Gentile and Jew, right? Verse 18, I consider that the sufferings of this present time are not worth comparing with the glory about to be revealed to us. Here is where we find out that, part of what's there is to say here to this church is, or part of what's going on in this church is some sort of suffering. We're not told why. It's probably a kind of persecution. Remember, this is in Rome. And there was a time when the Jews were like, out with you. And then they were allowed back, and so that caused a lot of conflict, a lot of consternation in the church. So that's part of what's going on here. I consider that sufferings of this present time are not worth comparing the glory about to be revealed to us. It's like, it's nothing, ain't no thing. For the creation waits with eager longing for the revealing of the children of God. This is great in that this is a very high view of the created order, okay? Something that we should keep in mind is that when we hear this, like, that when Paul talking about the creation like that, it's like, it gives us hope for ourselves. This is not out of a realm of theology where it sees human flesh as sinful just because it's flesh. No, for the creation was subjected to futility, not of its own will, but by the will of the one who subjected it, in hope that the creation itself will be set free from its bondage to decay and will obtain the freedom of the glory of the children of God. Oh my goodness, there's a lot there, right? And the idea is when the cross of Christ and the resurrection of Christ has made a huge difference, is what he's basically saying. And we were swirling the drain if it wasn't for that. And so he's using freedom and bondage and decay and freedom and yada. Yeah. Verse 22. We know that the whole creation has been groaning in labor pains until now. Yeah, it's as though all the bad stuff that's been going on, it's actually just labor pains. There's good pain and bad pain, okay? There is pain that's that pain of childbirth. This is that pain he's talking about. And not only the creation, but we ourselves. The creation, remember he's saying, is groaning in labor pains. We ourselves are also groaning with labor pains, okay? There's something that we're birthing, okay? Who have the first fruits of the Spirit groan inwardly while we wait for adoption. Yeah, and here he's looking more toward the eschaton, okay, toward the end. The redemption of our bodies, yeah. The ultimate fruition of our adoption into God is what happens in the eschaton, not dissimilar to what happened with Jesus in his resurrection, okay? For in hope we are saved. Now, hope that is seen is not hope, for who hopes for what is seen? But if we hope for what we do not see, we wait for it with patience. Yeah. This is the patience, he's talking about the sufferings, whatever it is that we're going through that we think is like, oh, this is so bad. Paul invites us to see it as labor pains that are going to eventually put forth something new and exciting that it ultimately results in our eternal vindication. Okay? All right. Moving on to Matthew. Jesus is talking in parables. Last week he had the one about the different, the seeds and the soils and all that, right? What do we have today in Matthew 13:24 to 30, and then the interpretation again comes in 36 to 43. Jesus put before them another parable. The kingdom of heaven may be compared to someone who sowed good seed in his field. But, by the way, sowing good seed, that's just what you do, right? So again, he's just talking about that's the practice. That's the practice. That's the standard practice. There's no monkey business going on with, with the intention of the sower, because in the analogy that comes in the end, it's like, oh, that's the Son of Man. That's Jesus' word for himself. He put for them another prayer. The kingdom of heaven may be compared to someone who sowed good seed in his field. But while everybody was asleep, an enemy came and sowed weeds among the wheat and then went away. Bum, bum, bum. Here, what we see Jesus doing is introducing the idea that evil isn't caused by God. You know, a lot of people will say, oh, well, everything happens for a reason. That is not a biblical concept, okay? Oh, everything happens they say everything happens, baloney, baloney. Sometimes things happen just because evil is at work, okay? All right. Verse 26. So, when the plants came up and bore grain, then the weeds appeared as well. See, it's as though nobody realized it. It's going, and then boop, all of a sudden, we got bad with the good, okay? You could talk about this like being like your life, with like, when bad things happen to good people, or you might think about it in terms of a congregation and a community of people, and then there's certain people that like, well, what happened to them? Why'd they go off the deep end? There's a lot of different ways you could apply that kind of an analogy, right? Verse 27, and the slaves of the householder came and said to him, Master, did you not sow good seed in your field? Where then did these weeds come from? He answered, an enemy has done this. He's like, don't look at me. I didn't do it. I had the best. I did exactly what I was supposed to. This is, an enemy has done this. The slave said to him, then do you want us to go and gather them? Like, okay, well, there has been an outside influence that has made things result in something like, wait a second, this wasn't the intended result. What do we do? Do we like try to fix it? Let's try to fix it. Let's just try to fix it. Should we fix it? Let's fix it, okay? Now that's kind of, if you think about it, that's our human reaction. That is our human reaction. We we can't even hear what people are saying because if they're expressing something that's a quandary, our minds are thinking of like, I wonder how you could fix that. Oh, I know what I'm going to say. And then you try to fix other people. Forget it. This is not the best way of being. All right. Then do you want us to go and gather them? But he replied, no, for in gathering the weeds, you would uproot the wheat along with them. Yeah, there's a process whereby if you try to, one of the reasons why I don't like to drink decaffeinated coffee is because of the chemicals that are used to are used to remove the caffeine. I believe that they are detrimental. And so, yeah, so they're saying the method to get rid of that thing which you don't think should be there could be do more harm than good, okay? Let both of them grow together until the harvest, and at harvest time, then I will tell the reapers, collect the weeds first and bind them in bundles to be burned, but gather the wheat into my barn. Yeah, it's like, okay, if there's a problem afoot, you know what? God has a timing for when these things will be rectified. And we're going to see this a little bit more in the explanation. Verse 36. Then he left the crowds and went into the house. And his disciples approached him, saying, "Explain to us the parable of the weeds of the field." He explained. He answered, "The one who sows the good seed is the Son of Man. The field is the world, and the good seed are the children of the kingdom. The weeds are the children of the evil one, and the enemy who sowed them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the age, and the reapers are angels." Remember, I think I talked about this last week. I don't know that Jesus probably gave these interpretations. I think parables originally, by the historical Jesus, I think he just let them sit there. And then I think the writers of our Gospels felt inclined to give us an interpretation. And I don't think it has to be the only one, but this is the one that we get here, okay? Just as the weeds are collected and burned up with the fire, so will it be at the end of the age. The Son of Man will send his angels, and they will collect out of his kingdom all causes of sin and all evildoers. Yeah. And they will throw them into the furnace of fire, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Yeah. This is that kind of like end time. You gotta remember, one of the things we gotta remember, whenever we read scripture, we don't get the entire systematic theology of everything every time. And sometimes we get fringe theologies, sometimes we get things, not everything is 100%, like, oh yeah, that's exactly what it's gonna be. No, we get pieces of viewpoint, and that's what we're getting here. And they will throw them into the furnace of fire, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Anytime there's weeping and gnashing of teeth, it's always about the fact that there's opportunities, like, oh, I missed my chance, that kind of a thing. Yeah, can we relate? Oh boy, yeah, right? Then I could have been a contender. Is that what the expression was? I could have been a contender. Raging Bull. Yeah, De Niro. I don't think it was the word contender. I think it was something else. Anyway, maybe it was. Anyway, I'm going to look that one up. There's always going to be regret anytime we feel like we haven't fulfilled on the promise that God has given us. There's going to be that feeling of, oh, that's the weeping and gnashing of teeth, right? Then the righteous will shine like the sun in the kingdom of their Father. Let anyone with ears listen. So if this were applied to a situation of one person's life, we could see it as like, okay, there's things good, things bad about us, and you know what? God will sort it out in the end. We don't have to worry about taking action on it. And if it might be about a community of faith, and it's like, oh wow, we got weeds, we got wheat, and we got weeds right here. Wheat and weeds. Ooh, yeah, I see it all over the place. Well, God is the one who does that, not us. And God has a timing for it, not us. Therefore, we are just tasked with being faithful. That's all we got to do. Anything more, and we are usurping God. This is what I believe is a takeaway. Not the only takeaways, but these are the ones that come to me. All right, that is it for this, which is like, there's 5 Sundays in July. So yeah, for the 4th Sunday of July, the 23rd. Until next time, peace.